It's Andrew Schatkin showtime. Andrew, what's going on, man? And what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about a kind of a misconception about work. And I'll tell you what it is, what I mean here, sir. A lot of people in our society identify themselves with the type of work they do. But work is simply a means of paying your expenses, essentially, or earning money. But a lot of people get an identity crisis with their work. And I'll tell you
Right.
what, there's a misconception in our society. I think it's a misconception, Neil.
Okay. All
And
right.
ladies and gentlemen, you're going to join me in this if you got any sense that many people who earn a living as professionals, say doctors,
Right.
lawyers, accountants, a businessman, executive, they feel a great of sense of superiority, I think, don't they,
Yes. Yes.
in our society?
Yeah.
And our society accords them greater worth. The question is that valid? For me, I'm not so sure about that because a policeman who goes out every day and risks his life, a police officer, to save lives and enforce the law, a fireman who responds to blazes, a plumber, even a plumber or a carpenter, their work is fully as essential and important as a doctor,
Absolutely.
lawyer.
No,
What?
because they're the best in their profession and they do it. Doesn't matter if they don't get paid as much as those other people get paid.
But those people, I think, in our society, there's a subtle denigration because maybe a businessman's got a nice suit and he goes to an office and he's also white collar. Now, don't you think our society, sir, denigrates the blue collar group?
It depends because here, some of these blue collar are making a lot more money than the people going with the suit to work. Depending if it's their business. So, for example, if
Yeah.
those people that do these trades decide to start their own business, they're going to make far more money
Yes,
and
they
be
are.
working more and making.
But
But the
a
problem
lot of people feel that if a person comes in a suit, a nice suit of clothes, and talks good and goes to an office, that person is a great person.
right,
Uh,
exactly.
well, they do. People do think that,
No, they
don't they?
do, and it's too bad. But again, that just goes back to the story in the Bible of Jesus, and again, how inviting wedding guests. I mean, inviting people to a banquet and saying you invite the
That's what he
poor,
said.
the
Yeah,
downtrodden.
take
Not
them off
don't
the
you don't
street.
you don't invite the rich and
That's
infamous.
what he said.
But see, Andrew, then that goes totally equating. So it'd be interesting, kind of a Bible discussion or a different discussion when you look at Jews and how they see things versus what Christians see.
Well, I think that may be true, but I think Jewish people certainly have their own religion, and it's valid for them. But you're right about Jesus in the wedding guest parable is very significant, and it's also more significant that he chose as his disciples working men.
Yes.
And in fact, a tax collector who was a non-person in Palestinian Jewish society. He was an agent of the Roman government. They hated him, but he chose him. But I still say, and you correct me if I'm wrong, sir, that a professional who doesn't have to work with a dirty shirt or with his
Right.
hands is accorded more respect than our dear blue collar brothers.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that?
That's true.
Do you think that's correct?
Yes, sir.
That blue collar people should be looked down on
No,
as
but
opposed to a
see,
guy who goes
people
to an
Andrew,
office?
it's all about things. People look down at people that work more. People look down at people that are successful too. So you have it depending on the thought process of a person, how they're programmed, they look at these things.
What's
There's
more
no way to
important than a
change it.
farmer? What's more important than getting our food grown?
A farmer.
You
But
want
at
to tell
one
me?
point, they're going to eliminate that altogether as they're planning it no longer that there's going to be meat at one point, Andrew. It's
I'm
all going
just
to be
saying that
synbiotic.
what about if we didn't have farmers, what would we do? If
They
we
would
didn't
create,
have one day without sanitation, man, what would we do?
they
We'd
would
have a bunch of
create
piled up garbage cans.
synthetic. Right, I agree. But there you go. Everyone's job has a purpose, and that's it. There's no way to. There's no
But what
argument
about,
with
but
that.
then why is it our society, and particularly if we see a person, I'm just telling you, Neil, if for many people, if they see a person in a nice, neat suit, that person is accorded, is regarded as upper class, perhaps.
Right.
Correct?
Yes, correct.
You think that's true?
No. I mean,
What about the
so basically,
military?
we know the norms of what are happening, but we're never going to change these norms. So it's good that people are thinking about this by watching this YouTube show, but honestly, they're never going to look at these norms and say,
Do you
society will never
believe that
change.
a guy who wears a suit is somehow uh, outstanding?
No,
No.
could be the
Do
person
you
wearing
think it's such
stickers
a
at
big
work.
deal answering the phone all day and taking memos and going to meetings, as opposed to a garbage man that picks up the trash?
No, sometimes the garbage man makes more money.
He's more important.
Okay, so yes, so
What
you're
about the
saying sure,
military, the police, military, fire? Isn't their jobs essentially more significant
yes,
than some
and
guy who
teachers,
answers the telephone?
yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So what are we going to say? Now, why is it our society has come up with this myth that white collar workers are the leaders and blue collar workers are BS, basically?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I just gave you an example. What about the military? A person in the military protects the country and dies for this country. A police officer goes out in the street and risks his life. Firefighter does the same. Are they not as fully as prestigious as some guy who drives to the office?
That no, you're right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's change our thinking about what's valid, what's true in this respect about kinds of work. There are simply, I say this, Neil, different kinds of work in our society. People do different things, and we need every one of them. We need that bus driver to take us safely to our destination. We need that cab driver to drive us safely through traffic to a destination. Every one of these people, far from being should be looked down on, should be respected because they're doing something quite as valid as important as the guy who shows up in an office in a nice suit and answers the telephone and goes to meetings. I'm asking you, Neil, what's so great about those people?
There's not everyone has their worth, Andrew. I can't argue with that. Everyone has their self-worth. I'm
Yeah.
striving to be, to live the lifestyle I want and
Yeah.
grow my businesses to the where level. But that doesn't mean I'm better than somebody else. Maybe I might be working harder than they do at some ways, but I might be have a mindset to understand that I'm going to take the
But do you
challenges.
believe that a person who wears a suit and goes to an office and answers it, I'm telling you what these people do, and you know that's what they do, Neil. They go to meetings, they go to an office, they're executives. They probably are accorded more respect by our society. Unfortunately, they probably because they make a lot more money.
True. So you
That's
can't
why they
change
get
it.
that respect.
There's no way of ever changing it. But you mentioned the people that are most important, and yet that's what politicians talk to get elected. And the
They
Republicans
get
talk,
less respect, don't they?
but the politicians. Let me give you a political stance. The
Well,
Democrats speak to the people that you talk about that get no respect at all, and the Republicans speak to the people that make all the money, and they're with the big
in other
suits.
words, the issue is that these people who have that very nice clothes and go to that office, you have a nice car. These people are respected because they have a lot more money.
Okay, so shatkinshow.com. Do you believe in Andrew's point? Comment below. Comment below. Do what you need to do, and I appreciate it, Andrew. And I'm looking forward to next week's episode. Take
Right.
care.
Okay. I got to take a phone call, Neil.